that your life is not going to go on forever, and there is a certain belief that we don't really tend to think of death. At least I don't really tend to think of death. But this really had me thinking of it. It's just because maybe a part of me was non-functional. But I remember I wrote a while back. I wrote in my journal. I journal every day, and I wrote in my journal. You have less time than you think. And I remember reading that, and I remember crying when I read that. It was very emotional to see that, and to be in this very weakened state. I could maybe do something for a couple hours, and then I'd have to go take a nap. So it was a very weakened state that I was in, and so consequently, that the fear of being decrepit. And that was the other thing, was a huge fear of being that guy who used to be vibrant and no longer is.
Welcome to Old Guy Talks to Me, a podcast dedicated to helping guys create kick-ass lives for themselves and those that they love. Ladies, if you want to know what your guy is thinking, this podcast is for women too. Each week, a special guest helps you create that life you've imagined. We talk anti-aging medicine, personal growth, relationships and hot sex. Yeah, you hear me, getting laid more frequently, other guy vices, and topics that many don't want to talk about but need to. Just because you're getting older doesn't mean you have to be old. Don't want to miss anything? Be sure to subscribe, share, rate, and review this podcast. And be sure to go to www.thestandard.academy/magazine and grab a free copy of our new digital magazine, The Standard Academy, where we talk about erogenous zones, growing hair back, and other things that will help you create that kick-ass life. Now get ready to listen up and share with friends.
This is Orange, the official old guy at oldguytalkstome.com, a podcast dedicated to helping older guys create kick-ass lives for themselves and those that they love. And today we're going to kind of reverse it up today. I got my friend Kevin Monaghan, and he is actually going to interview me about, fear of becoming decrepit. And that was a big fear of mine as I went through this whole ostomy process. And I recorded some videos and things like that to keep track of what I was thinking, what I was feeling. The old guy cried a lot. I don't normally cry. I'm not generally a crier. I mean, I haven't done it and nothing wrong with it, but I just generally not. It's been a journey and still not completely over, almost kind of over, but not completely, just a few little things here. But Kevin, I want to thank you for coming on the program, and I want to thank you for being part of Old Guy Talks to Me.
You got it. Excited for this.
So it's been an interesting journey. It wasn't pleasant to watch some of the videos. I know you watched a good number.
You did cry a lot. This was you speak truth.
Yeah, I think a lot of that has to do with the medications make you weepy. Of course, that was a traumatic event too. So
yeah, we'll dive into it because you told me you didn't even remember posting some of these, taking some of the videos.
Yeah, Valium, morphine, and all sorts of stuff will make you a little foggy in the brain. There's no doubt about it. And when you're taking 40 or 50 milligrams of Valium a day, that's going to have an impact on you.
Yeah, that'll do it. All right, you ready to rock and roll?
I'm ready. You ready? Go fire away, Kevin.
All right. Well, before the fear of becoming decrepit, take me back to where you were before you started noticing pain. What was happening in your life before this event kind of was forced upon you?
Yeah, I was actually pretty much feeling very invincible, bulletproof, especially for my age, for 69. For my birthday, I was able to lift 100-pound dumbbells, and then I had a little minor surgery that took me out of the game, so that kind of put me back. And I was getting back into that whole arena. Was getting ready to launch my my coaching program. That was coming on. Been working on it for quite a while, almost a year, and actually now it's over a year. And so I was, things were good. Things were good at home. We were, having a good level of intimacy at home, and having a great time, and playing our future, and just kind of going along. Life was good. Life was good. Yeah, I can't complain about what the life that we had.
So you were at a good point, and then watching kind of the videos, you started talking about a pain that you started feeling.
Right.
So everything was normal, everything was on fire, and then you started feeling a pain.
Yeah. So it all started not with my intestines. It actually started with my back. And at age 69, soon to be 70, I get a lot of aches and pains, and I've faced this before, where I wake up in the morning and slept wrong or whatever, and it hurts, and you go back to bed the next day and you wake up and it's fine. Well, it didn't. It actually kept on getting worse and worse and worse and worse. And so this started Monday.
Did you think this was back pain?
Oh, it was back pain. Oh yeah, yeah.
No, I just thought it was part of your back. You didn't know anything else could
there was nothing
possible.
else. There was nothing else that was going on at that point. But no, this was actually back pain, and that we ended up with a pain specialist, and that's a whole divergent story there. We fired the first one. And
well, wait. Well, don't brush over that. What do you mean? So you had back pain.
Well,
and then
I had back pain, and I had maybe we can get. I can go through it now, or we can do it chronologically. But I had back pain that took me into the hospital, took me into ER multiple times. I mean, like 6, 7, 8 times, and I was never so happy to get morphine. I mean, I was just like, I mean, and the one place we went to a couple times was a standalone emergency room. It's not a doc in a box, but it's actually a full hospital associated emergency room. And so if you have to go to the emergency room, I would encourage people. Everybody waits until it's at night, and then the emergency room is it's full of fucking people.
Yeah.
And they're all sick. They're all coughing. And if you're not sick when you got in there, you're going to be sick when you get out.
Yep.
and
2 p.m.
So,
I go.
Yeah. Go at 2:00 in the afternoon. We were the first time I went to the ER. I went 2:00 on Wednesday, because I knew this was not getting any better. And actually, I was having a flare up of my diverticulitis because I got.
What's diverticulitis?
Basically, it's obstruction in your intestines, and it's an inflammation, and it's actually a physical obstruction that can be exacerbated by certain things. And so I started to get diverticulitis, which I recognized right away. And this was on top. This is on, and it's incredibly basically you can't pass anything. And after a while, it's painful, including gas or anything. And so it's very, very painful. And so we went at 2:00 in the morning. No, I'm sorry, not in the morning. 2:00 in the afternoon on a Wednesday afternoon. I kind of timed it. I was kind of thought we'll see how quick is this going to be. And registration, seeing the ER physician, getting a CT scan, and getting morphine, all within 40 minutes of walking through the front door, which is pretty unheard of. You go to the ER, and you may not see the doctor for 2 or 3 hours, depending on how bad. So it was 40 minutes, and when they took the CAT scan, the first thing one of the doctors said that there's a mass. And then but I knew it wasn't a malignancy because I'd had colonoscopies. I've had several colonoscopies. I've had about 3 or 4 colonoscopies since January 2020. And so but there's some talk about, we got to get you over for surgery because this could be cancer and blah, blah, blah. And I just knew it wasn't cancer because they did biopsy in the past and it came back negative, and things don't turn into cancer. Like,
wait, so they saw a mass and they wanted to get you into surgery.
Right.
My biggest fear is people who want to get me into surgery so fast. I usually I throw a panic and I go, whoa, I'm not the kind of guy that goes into surgery. So how do you deal with the doctor who says, "Ooh, we think this mass might be cancerous. We want to get you into surgery"?
Yeah. Fortunately, another doctor came in and said, like, no, I don't think this is cancer. And, they weren't pressing for surgery. So cooler heads prevailed in terms of that direction. But, I got out and, the pain was subsided because of the morphine and they gave me some other stuff. And then the back pain kept on coming back. And so I had more meds that, I was taking lots of really powerful meds. One of the meds that I took was, it was a very powerful muscle relaxant. And I remember that I took it, and this was before we ended up in the hospital for the ostomy. But I took the muscle relaxant. I'm usually pretty good about meds in terms of it takes a while and stuff doesn't really hit me. And I took this muscle relaxant and I forgot my phone somewhere. And I went to go look at it, and I realized within like 15 minutes, holy shit, Horace, you should not be fucking driving. You should not. Yeah, you should not be driving. And fortunately I was home. I was, real close to home. And but it was just a whole series of things of, lots of pain from this back area, which, and I'll finish the story up. So we ended up, after I had the ostomy done and all that stuff, we ended up with a pain doctor that was recommended by the hospitalist. The hospitalist is a physician in the hospital. And so, went in to see him. It was hard hell to get in. I mean, if people think that universal healthcare is great, you'll have a healthcare card, but you're not gonna be able to get in to see anyone. It is impossible to get in and see. I just make appointments just for the hell of it, just to have them, just in case I might. And it's actually worked out well, because a couple of times I've been so glad I had a telemedicine visit scheduled with someone, even though at that time that I made the visit, that I made the appointment, I didn't need it because it was like 3 months into the future. Otherwise they tell you to go to ER. So we go in, we see this guy, and I was kind of pissed off because I hurt and everything else. And we end up not seeing him, but we ended up seeing his PA, which they never said we were going to see his PA. And so they said, oh yeah, it looks like, based on your CT scan and your MRI, you have a nerve impingement at this level, whatever, blah, blah, blah. I can't remember the number. And so what we have to do is to do diagnostic lidocaine injection to determine that that's the exact location, to see if there's relief. And then they do what they call a nerve ablation, which they basically fry the nerve, but it grows back over time. And so this doctor that was really hard to get in to go see was able to get me in the very next morning for this lidocaine procedure. I was thought to myself, like, this is kind of interesting.
It must be a very profitable procedure.
You have, and when I got there Friday morning, because this was like Thursday afternoon, and they got me scheduled like at 8 o'clock Friday morning, like really?
With the impossible doctor.
Yeah, for the impossible doctor. I mean, really, I don't have to wait till like 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And so we got to this point, and so I got in, and I understood because this guy had like 6 operating rooms going. Each of them had a nurse that provided the anesthesia. They had, blah, blah, blah. And they had people just lined up. And a procedure only takes like 10, 15 minutes. It's not like it's not a real long procedure. And I remember I'm going like, oh, okay, this is a cash cow. I'm sure I'm not sure what they charge, but I imagine.
Orest, you have a doctor, like you're a doctor, right? from your background. So when you walk into because I've walked into something like this before, and the first time I went through with it, and I go, that wasn't even necessary. And now I'm so afraid to go into it. When you walk into something like that, what do you feel?
I didn't feel, I wasn't apprehensive because I understood what was going on. Because I understood that this was this was a very smooth, efficient operations. He may be in partnership with a private equity group, whatever. And don't get me started on that, and physicians and all sorts of other healthcare people. But so I get into the room, and he kind of comes in, he mumbles something like whatever, and the nurse is supposed to put me out, and I'm not out. And he jabs me with the needle, with the lidocaine needle. And I said, "Fuck, that hurts." I mean, I said like that loud. It wasn't like I mumbled it under my breath. I was like, and then he did it again. And probably the nurse saw that, and she probably pushed the IV Valium real fast to get me out because I would just like. And so we went to we a few weeks later we had a post.
Wait, so you didn't stop the procedure. You got knocked out because she pumped you, and then they did the back pain procedure.
Correct. Yeah. So the diagnostic part, and so and then so you wake up and go home. Obviously, you don't see the doctor because he's already gone. You're dealing with the nurse in the recovery room, and then so we saw him a week later, 2 weeks later, I can't remember, but Oksana and I came in. My wife, Oksana, and I came in, and I literally told him exactly what happened. I said, I did not appreciate that I was not out when you started this. And I let you know once that I felt, once, you didn't realize that I wasn't out. 2 times, no. And so we said, we will not be coming back. But we actually made a point of going in person to fire him. And we also need our records from him. So, and then we found another doctor. And basically, he's basically it was a little bit unusual. He said, "This is unusual, a little bit unusual pace for having back pain. Usually, it's a little bit lower than this." But when the other pain doctor, looked at the MRI, and he said, "Yeah, that looks like it. That's where it is." And so what was really weird is
so they're looking at your actual spine. They're not seeing that it's an intestinal problem.
Well, no, because it wasn't. I had two sources of pain. One was a diverticulitis.
Okay, so they cured one source of pain, but there was that's
okay. But
I wanted to clarify that.
But by then I'd already had my ostomy. Okay, so by then that was this whole pain thing lasted several weeks. Hence all the heavy medications, all the everything else I was taking. So we ended up, and it was kind of interesting because in some ways that one lidocaine injection they have to do for Medicare and insurance purposes, they have to do 2 lidocaine injections before they can move on to the nerve ablation to blah blah. But it seemed like that one lidocaine injection actually took care of the pain because I haven't had any since.
Good.
And we didn't have to go for a second one, and so that was in the rearview mirror. And I said, I'm wondering whether it has to do something with how I'm lifting and what I'm gonna have to be kind of taken care of. I'm not sure how many more hex bars I'm gonna do, but we'll see. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But getting back to the ostomy, so this diverticulitis kept on coming back, Kevin. And it was, first of all, it hurt.
Why are you going? So it hurts. It hurts enough where you have to go to the hospital each time for it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've only been able to take care of it once by myself, and that's by taking like the colon cleanse prep. But most of the time, it doesn't take care of it by itself, and plus it hurts so much. I mean, you're just hunched over in pain. It just really, I mean, it hurts like a motherfucker. And so, so this between all these drugs for back and all this diverticulitis, is kind of like, I was having major pain from 2 major sources. And so I went to an ER, and I went to a different ER this time. And no, I'm sorry. I went to the same ER, and they said, we can't, you're beyond what we can do here for you. I mean, they gave me some stuff for pain, but they said, you're beyond what we can do for you. We have to switch you to the ER that's in the hospital.
Do you need accountability? Are you looking to change the course of your life but have failed to keep on track? Too often we take in information and fail to act. Do you need an accountability program to stay the course? Then go to www.thestandard.academy and find out about my accountability program that goes with my course that helps you find out what you want, why you want it, and how to get it. The accountability program keeps you on track to get results.
Okay.
So what were you thinking then?
Well, then I was thinking like, okay, so I'm gonna go to ER hospital. They're gonna admit me. They're gonna do a colonoscopy, open that area up, and I can find out this whole surgery thing later on. And my clue should have been when I asked my GI physician who does the colonoscopy. She didn't really give me a clear answer on this resection surgery.
All right, so
because it probably was like it's a little bit more than I want to talk to him about, and that's fine. It was kind of funny. I shouldn't say that, but I think it was just it's a much lengthier discussion.
yeah.
So I ended up, and so they put me in this room with 6 other people, and
What's this room like? Is this
It-
like
it was like a communal hospital room with 6 people, and there were no windows or very few windows. So it was between
are these hospital beds? Is this a waiting room?
Yeah,
What is this?
it's a hospital. It's hospital beds and waiting room, but not particularly really good hospital beds. So of course that aggravates my back some more. And
Okay, so you're checked into the hospital at this point.
we're checked into the hospital, and this place was between the drugs and the fact that there were no windows. I couldn't tell if it was AM or PM. It was light or dark
Yeah,
outside.
Like
then
Vegas.
Yeah, and then every where I live, and every fucking person who was a patient in there had their TV on to full blast, listening to a different station.
Yeah, because they're all the drugs. They're all
Yeah. Nobody, and it was just like totally disorienting. And
now, were these people, when you looked around, were these people all in for the same type of pain?
No, it was all different.
Okay.
They're different. This was just like almost like a holding room,
Okay.
for lack of a better, but until you got put into the hospital, and it was like a pre-surgery holding room. And I remember my surgeon came in, and as I look back on it, Kevin, I when I was there, I thought that he just basically told me that I had to have a colon resection, and that was it. And my wife says, no, he actually talked to you for quite a while. I don't really have very much recollection of it. To be real honest, I really don't have very much recollection of it. I just knew that I said, no, I don't want to do this right now. And I think at some point you just stop arguing with the guy who's drugged up and saying no.
Yeah,
And
if Oksana if she wasn't there,
she was kind of there. Yeah, no, she was there. I can't remember if she was there for that, but she had kind of visited with him. I don't remember very much, Kevin. Like I said, there's stuff that I don't really remember. And then I remember this one doctor came in, and she was younger. So like everyone's younger than me, but she looked like to be in her late 20s or early 30s. And she sat down and she actually explained to me, maybe I was in between doses of drugs, I was in a coherent moment where she explained why this needs to be done now. And Oksana said the same thing, and so I agreed. And so the next afternoon, Friday afternoon, I was wheeled into surgery. And
so you stayed in the hospital.
I was in the hospital for 8 days.
Wow.
Yeah, I was in the hospital for 8 days. And so next thing I know, I wake up and
did you remember saying yes to the surgery, or was that part of the?
Yeah, no.
trial?
I remember agreeing to it. I remember agreeing to it. Yeah. No, I do remember agreeing to it.
So,
and of course, you always sign.
ask,
you sign a whole bunch of papers. You have no idea what the hell they are. What are you gonna do? Say no now?
Yeah. So let me ask this: when did the fear of becoming decrepit kick in? Was it about this point, or was it after the surgery when you felt the pain?
I think it was after the surgery when I had the bag.
So you woke up from surgery and there was a bag.
There was an
coming out of your
ostomy bag,
stomach.
an ostomy bag to basically shit into. And the ostomy
That bag
bag
is now your
yeah.
is now your sphincter.
Well,
No,
it's
there
not
is no
even a sphincter.
sphincter.
There is no sphincter. So it just shits whenever you want to. Not whenever, it just shits whenever it decides to.
What?
So
Yeah.
And the first night, I remember in the hospital, the first night, and I got out of bed. The bag fucking came off. There's shit all over the floor. The nurse, it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. The nurse had to come in and clean it up, and they were just angels. They not a hint of complaint or anything else. And so I realized that this was going to be a very
Did it get on the wound? Does it?
well. There is no wound. It's actually it just opens out. It's literally just your intestine opens out through your stomach, through a hole in your stomach. And so this bag
imagine, because they put the hole in the stomach, but there's not like an infection area that can get, or it's just right
open.
out.
Yeah. Well,
Wow.
it's hard to get your intestine infected because there's literally so much shit in there. Your intestine's
Yeah.
pretty resistant to infections.
I'm just thinking of, because they must have sewed the intestine to the outside. There must have been some.
I'm not sure how what the mechanics of it. I'm not sure, but it's basically it was an interesting phenomenon. And we part of it was we had in the hospital you're not really that mobile, so we had a challenge getting that bag to stay on in the hospital, but we finally eventually got to stay on.
Is that normal?
Apparently, yes, until you figure it out. There's a lot of things you find out about this whole thing. So I was in the hospital for several days, and got to know the nurses real well. I was being my typical funny self, blah, blah, blah. And
the nurses were humoring you that you were funny.
Yeah, they did. I was funny. I am funny. Fuck you, I'm funny. So we started this whole thing, and then I remember, so we got home, and very tiring. It just knocks you down. This is this whole decrepit thing. You see guys doing well. See this, especially if you go to the gym where all the people or recognize all the people, not necessarily know by name, but recognize them by sight. And then you see somebody who has been, working out, doing really well, blah, blah, blah. And next thing you know, you come in a few weeks later and they're like, look really old. They got beat up and something happened to them physically. And so this was my big fear, was of becoming decrepit. All of a sudden being from this vibrant, 69, soon to be 70-year-old man, to being a mere shadow of myself. And, all this stuff goes through your mind about, how am I going to live? How am I going to live? How am I going to survive? And I knew that there was an end point to this. But still, during that time, especially when we couldn't get the fucking bag to stick, that was for about 3 weeks. And so outside of my back pain at that time, which was still present, my morning consisted of, and Oksana's morning consisted of me shitting 2 or 3 times on myself in bed, laying flat on my stomach, and her cleaning it up. And then once that shitting started, then maybe being able to walk around the house and do some things. So it was very embarrassing, and my wife went through a lot to take care of me. It was and again, never a word of complaint or anything, just trying to figure out. But basically my day, every day for about 3 weeks, 3.5 weeks, started off with me shitting on myself. And
Did the embarrassment, did the time suck? Did it make you feel isolated? Did it make you feel worthless? What were you feeling?
well, you feel a shadow of yourself, in terms of your masculinity. You feel that you're just not, who you were, because you can't do all the things. I mean, you can't go work out, you can't do this, you can't do that. Certainly, any sort of intimacy was not on the agenda. As you're sitting there shitting, that's certainly
Unless
not
you're into
happening.
that, then it's
Yeah, well, not that's a little too weird. And so it also made me confront my mortality, which I have kind of been really good at avoiding in lots of different ways, because a lot of stuff I do in the anti-aging space for myself and things like that. So I've been really good at not confronting my mortality, and this has actually made me confront my mortality in a way that I did not anticipate and did not like.
Describe that. What is that? What's going on in your mind to feel that you're confronting your mortality? What kind of thoughts are you having?
That your life is not going to go on forever. And there is a certain belief that we don't really tend to think of death. At least I don't really tend to think of death. But this really had me thinking of it. It's just because maybe a part of me was non-functional. But I remember I wrote a while back, I wrote in my journal, I journal every day. And I wrote in my journal, you have less time than you think. And I remember reading that, and I remember crying when I read that. It was very emotional to see that, and to be in this very weakened state. I could maybe do something for a couple of hours, and then I'd have to go take a nap. So it was a very weakened state that I was in, and so consequently, that the fear of being decrepit, and that was the other thing, was a huge fear of being that guy who used to be vibrant and no longer is. So I had to. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
What was the bigger fear, being decrepit or dying?
Being decrepit.
So why?
Because when you're dead, you don't know it.
So did you really have, like, so on some level you're confronting your mortality, but the bigger fear is not dying while you're still capable, is like the bigger fear was being alive but not being able to be you.
Yeah. I think that really puts it well. Yeah, because there's a meme that says when you're dead, you don't know you're dead because you're dead. And same goes when you're stupid. When you're stupid, you don't know you're stupid because you're stupid. And so the death thing, I don't know. It's never been a big thing, but being decrepit, it's really Kevin, it's given me a whole different appreciation of people that have, especially physical limitations, that are brought onto them instantaneously. I look at those, the soldiers that you see the commercials on Wounded Warrior, and is it the Tunnels to Towers, or I can't remember when, Mark Wahlberg always is out there pitching for them. And, they were vibrant men and women who in a snap had their lives altered. They've lost limbs, and this is, for me, there's an endpoint. In a few days, I get my staples out, and I kind of essentially get back to starting to be able to do everything. But this is their life. There's no better maybe like the housing that makes it a lot easier for them to function and all that. But as far as dealing with the pain that's associated with their injuries, the challenges of moving around, all sorts of stuff, that there's no getting better. And it's quite frankly, it was the first time that intellectually, not that I have that indication, but it was intellectually that I understood suicide, because it is so exhausting that there comes a point where you say, like, I just don't want to live like this anymore.
Yeah.
I am tired, and you're just worn out. And I think that's why you see. So that's why you see some.
There's another element. Did you feel like a burden?
I did, because I didn't, I was very independent. But Oksana really made sure that I didn't feel like that. And she was really good about that.
Good woman.
And yeah, so there was never, she was wonderful. But yeah, but it was, that was the weirdest thing to kind of understand, that I actually do understand suicide, and intellectually, because you just get so tired and you're just like, do I want to go through another day like this? And some people have enough reason to live and don't, but I can actually understand how somebody say, hey, you know what? I don't want to live like this. It's time for me to check out.
Yeah, they want the pain to stop. They want the thoughts to stop. Those are the two. And they don't see any other way.
Yeah.
Other to stop it.
Yeah. But this whole thing of shitting on yourself for several weeks in a row is just really depressing.
Yeah.
And you talked about isolation. I mean, we couldn't really go anywhere. I couldn't go work out. I couldn't do anything. At a max, I had friends that come over, guys that come over on Friday afternoons to smoke cigars on my patio. So that happened. But outside of that,
let me ask this. All right, I'm going to ask. I had two things on my mind, but you're bringing up one of them right now, which is, so I'm watching the videos that you're taking. It's like day 4, day 5, and all of a sudden there's a friend came over, and I was like, "What's the friend coming over for?" Oh, scotch and a cigar, and I'm going, "What in the world are you doing, having company over for scotch and cigar?" Did this fear of becoming decrepit make you want to try to be normal more than ever, even though when friends came over, sometimes you had to send them home because you're just so tired?
Yeah, well, everybody knew and so I would, and sometimes I just leave them and they just sit on my patio and finish their drinks, and without me. Oksana would go out there sometimes and visit with them, but
they had a better time.
Yeah. So it was, I was just trying to maintain some semblance of normalcy, and also socialization. So that was really my only source of socialization, was that. And so we so we had, like I said, it's always with few exceptions, it was usually Friday afternoon at 3 to 5, 5:30 or whatever. Sometimes it's just 2 of us, sometimes it's 6 people. We sit outside and have cigars and drinks and all that stuff. And and I get pretty loopy because I do a bad thing, evil. I shouldn't be admitting it to it on tape. But my Valium and my my scotch. But I have an incredible liver. I mean, it's absolutely. I mean, it's pretty amazing. So in that regard, it's pretty interesting from that regard. This is Oris, the official old guy at oldguytalkstome.com. Remember, I want you to do several things. First of all, I want you to follow me here on this, follow me or subscribe, whichever you can do on your particular brand of service. On Spotify, it's follow me. I want you to share, rate, and review. And if you're going to give me a bad review, that's fine too. I love my trolls. If you troll me multiple times, then I might even send you a little gift because trolls boost people's rankings. Yeah, if you're a particular a rabbit troll, that'd be perfect. And then the other thing I want you to do is to subscribe to my magazine, the standard.academy/magazine, where there's lots of hacks, including if you figure out how to find her erogenous zone. And it's a free digital magazine you can get. And as I said, go to the standard.academy/magazine. Until next time, remember, it's all about creating a kick-ass life for yourself and those that you love.
Thank you for joining Dr. Orist and his incredible guest. Like what you heard and learned? Then be sure to do 3 things. 1. Subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. 2. Share this with someone who may need to hear it. 3. Leave a review and rate this podcast. Opt in at www.thestandard.academy/magazine and get our free digital magazine with savings, articles, and deeper dives into cool controversy. Be the guy who takes action. Without action, you're not going to get the results you want. Thank you again, and make it a great day.